Hey guys, it's Atheist for the Cause here, and I've got another video for you. This time it's about, an American Pravada video came out by James O'Keefe, a new one, and it's the most interesting one of the bunch, in my opinion. And when I say interesting, I mean thought-provoking, because it's not any sort of gotcha type thing like, where in the past they've proved basically what we've already known, that CNN literally is fake news from the top. But this one is a little more thought-provoking on how things actually go down within CNN and other news organizations, and how nefarious really is this issue and all that kind of stuff. So let's have a look at the video.
I think CNN, to some degree, does a poor job reaching out and finding those voices and giving them a fair crack at the win.
By the way, I think that John Bonifield should be commended for his comments here. This is the type of criticism I want within CNN. This is the type of introspection I want them to have. And so it shows you there are people who think, who realize what's going on, but it's just they don't have the power to stop it, or the willingness to stop the one-sided approach. And as more and more, as CNN goes downhill more and more, these people are going to get louder and louder, and it's going to be harder for the, very, very top, the media bosses to just fire and get rid of anybody who dissents like this. So these people are going to have more and more power to speak out about, hey, this is what we're doing wrong, and this is what we need to change if we want to get more support. And CNN is really, really struggling in viewership. So I think we will see a turnaround. I don't actually think a lot of these major media companies will collapse. I think they'll some of them might, like Zucker and stuff like that, they might get fired, and so the CEOs might go. But overall, I think there will be a rock bottom where they realize, okay, we've got to change something here, and they'll find a new identity. And I think that we should embrace that. I think a positive identity will come out of this whole fake news situation.
This is a ban that will affect, and if carried through, expel and block.
And by the way, I probably didn't give you enough time to read the, because it kind of puts everything in context. It says, CNN producer admits network does not give opposing viewpoints on trans issue fair shake. American Pravada LGBT. So this whole snippet is specifically about trans issues.
Volunteers.
You can't just declare a class of people is going to get disparate treatment. That is the very definition of discrimination.
Yeah, I think it's abominable, to be honest with you, Wolf.
Now, keep in mind, this is propaganda at this point. When it's coming from the top that they all have to have the same opinion and it all has to be pro-trans or whatever, if it is indeed coming from the top, then that is literal propaganda.
Could be bullshit. I mean, it's mostly bullshit right now. Where we fail are covering the stories of the people who feel differently, the people who don't want to have transgender children paid for in their state, who don't want transgender bathrooms, who want to see abortion banned. I think CNN, to some degree, does a poor job reaching out and finding those voices and giving them a fair crack at the win. So what usually happens is they ask them really pointed questions, really demeaning, interrogative kind of exchanges. I don't think they always get a fair shake.
And the public is getting really sick of this. When you watch CNN, you're not going to get anything close to both sides of the story. They're not even going to give you, it's not just that it's like they're going to spin it. They really don't even allow the other side to give their positions. So if you actually care about the truth, what you have to do is like watch multiple news outlets at this point, and that takes so much time. That's why so many people are going to do independent media, where they're, independent media is really saying, okay, CNN said this, Fox News said this, here's kind of, the middle of it, or not necessarily the middle, but here's where the bullshit is, here's where the truth is. And the independent media, people are finding independent media that they trust, and then those independent media people are going and they're basically just weeding through the information, the arguments on both sides. And they're doing the hard work for the average person that might not have time to go through all these different angles.
And,
The people who are against, they don't get it. All right.
There's an automatic bias presented against them. These aren't racists. These aren't people that are out hating people. These are people who have a view over the world. It's just different than a lot of journalists. And the journalists approach that with a certain level of bias.
And so, I think that was pretty thought-provoking. Like, these aren't racists. These aren't people that are beating people. These are people who have a view of the world that's just different than a lot of journalists. And journalists approach them with a certain level of bias. And this makes it seem like journalists are doing that on an individual level. And I think sometimes that's the case, but honestly, I think that a lot of this does come from the top. And we've seen that in some of the past American Pravada videos, where people were admitting that it was coming from Zucker himself, and like on Trump Russia and things like that. So, but I do think there is a bit of where journalists are in a bubble. And also, if you work at CNN, that's your company. So every day they feed you these stories to cover. Well, it's not like the journalists themselves are going out or like the news anchors are going out and finding the information. No, it's just fed to them. So they're going to believe their company side of things, especially because they were likely hired because they originally agreed with their company side of things. A Fox News anchor will likely believe the Fox News side of things. But there is, the bias is just so great, and these journalists are in such a bubble that they don't even understand the arguments from the other side a lot of times. And it's nice to know that some people higher up in these media organizations understand the problem, but the question is, what are they gonna do about it? And do they have the power to reform these media outlets? Or, how far down the hole are we going to go before things turn around? I think there's signs that things are starting to change, but it seems like we're still going the wrong direction. So, in fact, I would argue, say Fox News, if you look at them, they used to be a huge propaganda outlet. I mean, almost nothing they said was truthful a couple years ago. And people stopped watching them to a great degree, and they were really forced to come around and be more truthful. And now we have a Fox News that they went from like the least truthful media outlet to now the most truthful media outlet of the major media outlets. So CNN can go through that same transition. MSNBC can, the New York Times can, all of these companies can. It's just, when will it happen? And even though they can, will they? So I think when it comes to CNN, I think Zucker's gone so far down the rabbit hole. He's got to stick to his guns and try to win this war. And if he doesn't, he's gone. If he tries to turn it around and change the model, I think they'll get rid of him anyways. So, anyways, that's what this American Pravada video is. Check it out. I'll put in the description. Like, subscribe, share. I'd appreciate it. And I'll talk to you guys later.